Now, serious questions are being raised today about how the board will determine what is misinformation as we learn more about who is leading it. We already know the term disinformation has been used to censor content, such as speculation that COVID leaked from a Chinese lab, which Facebook banned, before U.S. intelligence agencies later found the scenario one of two plausible pandemic origin theories. And the Post's reporting on documents from Hunter Biden's laptop, which Twitter blocked, and later turned out to be legit. The new disinformation czar, Nina Jankowicz herself, suggested the Hunter Biden laptop story was part of a foreign influence campaign. Yet she'll be deciding what's true, and she will be deciding what gets labeled as fake. And critics are also slamming the timing of the board just 6 months before the midterms. But the White House is defending the new panel against the severe backlash in this way. Watch.
We know that there has been a range of disinfo out there about a range of topics. I mean, including COVID, for example, and also elections and eligibility. But I will check and see if there's more specifics. Well, I don't have any comments on the laptop, but what I can tell you is that it sounds like the objective of the board is to prevent disinformation and misinformation from traveling around the country in a range of communities. I'm not sure who opposes that effort.
Jason Chaffetz, sure, a noble concept, a noble intent, but it's everything else we have problems with.
Yeah, look, every dictator wants to have a tool like this to be able to say, I deem this true and this not true. It actually goes back to the Obama administration. Don't think this is spontaneous in the last 7 or 8 days. They tried what was called SOPA, the Stop Online Piracy Act. Republicans were involved in this as well, but it would have given unilateral authority to the Department of Homeland Security to take down any website at any time if they could say that there was some sort of piracy going on. So they tried this before. They couldn't pass the legislation. Their answer now is to deem this person the czar of truth, and they then would be able to do. I think what they're really trying to do is to give excuses to the other social media companies and the traditional media to say, well, you need to suppress this, you shouldn't do it because it's just not true. So says the government. So, hey, that's what we're going to do.
Right.
I think that's their goal. And I think the threat of Elon Musk is the idea that he's going to expose the suppression and the shadow banning that has been happening. When he's able to get in there and look at the algorithm himself, that is the biggest threat to the traditional media and the other social media companies.
That's right. And Tommy, what exactly are Democrats so afraid of? Why is the truth, as Jason's saying, why is that so terrifying to Democrats?
Yeah, if the truth is on your side, you really shouldn't need to censor those that disagree with you. But even going back to these last 2 years of COVID, I don't know how many of you have tweeted something and had them put a sticker on it, or Facebook had them put a sticker on it that turned out to be true. Yeah. So again, I think that goes back to the question, who is the referee of what truth is, what's misinformation, and what's simply things that the Democrats don't like? And is the truth really so scary to Democrats? Because maybe if people know the truth, they'll change the way they vote. They've always had this referee in big tech to rig the game in their favor. Now Elon Musk, like you said, Jason, is a real threat to them because maybe, just maybe, he's not going to be one of those big tech wardens on their side. So now they have to scramble and bring the government in. But it's all these changing definitions that they need to protect people from ideas and speech. We don't need protection from speech. We need more speech, more ideas, more of a marketplace of thought. It's not the disinformation that they're worried about. I believe it's the information and the controlling of the narrative that's slipping away out of their fingers that threatens them. And now they got to bring in the government to do their bidding for them and do the fixing.
That's right. And Jonathan Turley sort of echoed your point. He said for years, the First Amendment distinction has been the focus of liberals who discovered a way to circumvent constitutional bans on censorship by using companies like Twitter and Facebook. Now that successful strategy could be curtailed as shareholders join figures like Musk in objecting to corporations and media acting like a surrogate state media. Faced with that prospect, Democrats are falling back to their final line of defense and finally being honest about their past use of corporate surrogates. They are now calling for outright state censorship. And Kaylee, to that end, as Tommy brings up sort of the referee that Democrats have been playing, now the official referee of disinformation, she has no qualms about shouting her bias, frankly, from the rooftops, or is it singing her bias from the rooftops?
Yes. So Press Secretary Jen Psaki said she doesn't have a lot of information on this individual, but we brought a lot of information today. Tucker Carlson tonight. Thank you for this. She sings. Let's watch.
Information laundering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origins are slightly less atrocious.
Well, she's not a horrible singer, so maybe she'll have a career on Broadway when this does not work out. Also, some other interesting tidbits I found out in the Daily Mail. She's complained about hordes of men tracking her down on social media after TV appearances. She prefers strangers to follow her Twitter account because she speculates that many who criticize her online are jealous of her verified blue check mark and media career. This is a lesson in don't tweet like your every thought, especially if you want to head some disinformation board one day. I don't know whose ambition that is other than hers. But this is very scary, and I think you've got to look at this in the aggregate, that the Republican Party is now the party of free speech. The Republican Party is now the party that wants parents involved in education. The Republican Party is now the party of the free press that will allow the New York Post to report a legitimate story. The Republican Party is the party that says you can breathe freely on an airplane and we're not going to force cloth over your face. I think that's a pretty good place to be.
That's right. I think you're really generous. I just have to say that. You are a really generous soul, because I think that was agonizing singing personally. But look, Harris, the reality is that disinformation, which is the intentional dissemination of false information, right, that's been a part of active measures by Russia since the 1950s. To your point, this is not new to America. The CIA has been dealing with this for decades. And under the Reagan administration, he employed a task force, right? It was interagency. It was CIA, it was FBI, it was the State Department. So why now in this administration are we somehow to accept the overburdened DHS with this self-obsessed social media neophyte as the champion, as the arbiter of truth, when everything that they have that we've learned from history is that the enemy are in fact our true international enemies, and yet to this administration, the enemies are average Americans?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm glad that we have the platform that we have, at least right now. Elon Musk is going to broaden that out, because otherwise we wouldn't have all of those receipts of her singing and all of that and telling us who she is.
Right.
So that's part of the problem, too. I want to know what the rules are in terms of choosing somebody like this, because I think you have to be able to recognize the truth before you can find it. And so since we've already shown receipts on how she thought that Hunter Biden's laptop was disinformation, or at least whether she believed that, we don't know, but she was willing to manipulate that to manipulate everybody else because it was inconvenient for liberals, right? But if she can't act on what the truth is, then how can we have faith that she'll find it? Yeah. She can't, right? But the other thing is the Kremlin is still on Twitter. So if they're really putting out that much disinformation, I don't believe that this liberal administration on this issue is really all that sincere about finding disinformation. They don't have a problem with it with the Kremlin's blue check page now. They don't have a problem with the blue check page right now of the Ayatollah Khomeini. Is it really about the disinformation, or is it about what we've been saying here, especially you, Tommy, the loss of narrative and control? I think that's it. It's not going to help them, though, because you can never kill a tweet. All of that stuff still rests there. So they need somebody other than Nina Jankovic. I mean, I think we've proven that. But we'll have so many more rich receipts on whomever they find, right? Because we will find and know what the truth looks like.
Yeah, and I think the brilliance under the Reagan administration was the concept that it's not up to one person, right? That they used all of those agencies and multiple people that maybe nowadays would look like representatives from sure, social media as well.
Even if it were, it can't be her.
100%. She's been banned from that. All right, she got to go to Broadway auditions.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.